We are welcoming and are proud to welcome members of the Texas State Legislature who are here today at the State House. We just had a meeting to listen to them, to hear from them about what it is that is happening in Texas, how wrong it is, what is happening to their constituents and to voters in Texas, and to also talk about what this means for voters around the country, including here in Massachusetts, all of whom, all Americans, impacted by an attempt at a power grab by Donald Trump, Governor Greg Abbott, and Attorney General Paxton. These folks, and today I pledge my support to them. I appreciate so much their willingness to stand up and to stand forward on behalf not just of the great people of Texas, but of all Americans in what is a stand for free and fair elections in this country and a stand for fair representation. They are standing up to protect their constituents and the integrity of their state's congressional elections, but they're doing more than that. They're also standing up for a system of free and fair elections across the United States. I stand with them, and I know the vast majority of people in Massachusetts stand with them. As governor of Massachusetts, every day I am focused on the lives of people in Massachusetts, whether that's cutting taxes, lowering costs for housing, creating jobs. What's happening in Texas matters to the people of Massachusetts, and it matters to people all over this country. If we don't have a fair election system in this country, that impacts, that hurts all Americans. We've seen the impact in Massachusetts of Donald Trump's cuts to Medicaid and anti-hunger programs, and the way his tariff tax has raised costs for everyone. This is, to be really clear about it, a partisan, craven, political power grab attempt by the President of the United States, Governor Greg Abbott, and AG Paxton. That's what this is. Quite simple. And it's done to further an agenda that's about protecting them and their power and the president's perception of power. It's outrageous, and it impacts all of us across this country. They're doing it by threat, by bullying people, by attempting to intimidate people, by attempting to invoke the criminal justice process to further their aim and their outcome. And honestly, this is what everybody hates about politics. And we're not standing for it. Elections and the election process should be free and fair. It should be representative. It should be done the way that our founders designed this a long, long time ago. And I think in Massachusetts, we know something about this. It was John Adams that wrote the Massachusetts Constitution, which became the model for the United States Constitution. And in a place where we welcome these good men and women from the great state of Texas to the Commonwealth, on this, the year of the 250th anniversary of Massachusetts and the birth of this nation, I just want to underscore what is going on here, what is happening in real time. This is an attempt to grab power, to change the rules, to determine a certain outcome. It has nothing to do with law. It is antithetical to law. It is antithetical to American democracy, and is antithetical to the functioning of American government, local, state, and federal, that we have known since the very beginning. That's what's going on here. And not only is it taking away a voice from, stealing the voice from Texas voters, it's stealing the voice and the vote, possibly, from voters around this country, from all Americans. And on top of that, all Americans are going to be impacted by what the next Congress looks like. The Constitution is so important. It's so important that every elected official in America swears an oath to uphold it. No matter what your party, no matter what your politics, democracy matters, free and fair elections matter. And it is on each of us, from wherever we are, to fight for that, to preserve that, to protect that fundamental truth of this great country. That is what these Texas legislators are doing. They've taken it upon themselves to be clear with the American public about what is happening. By leaving Texas, their beloved state and districts and constituents, they're only leaving in terms of physical presence. They're not leaving because they are fighting for them just as hard right here from Boston today as they are in states around this country. They are fighting for Texans. They are fighting for Americans. They are fighting for our democracy. They are fighting for all of us. So I applaud their courage. I appreciate and welcome them to Massachusetts in this State House, and I am both proud and honored to stand with them today. I now invite Secretary Galvin to the podium.
Thank you, Governor. I'm delighted to be with you and them today. I think the point you made about their effort being a national effort is extremely important. These folks did not flee Texas. They came here to get the message out to the rest of us across this country that when you do what Trump has done in Texas and is attempting to conclude in Texas, you're stealing the rights of Massachusetts voters and voters throughout this country. You know, Trump loves to use the word rigged. It's one of his favorite words, rigged and stolen. Well, he's the master thief here. He's the one who's trying to crack open the safe on democracy and rip its contents all over the place. They're here to get that message out. This is not about their seats, their political futures, or their friends or anybody else. You're talking about people, and I want to give you the facts. The Texas primary that this map is supposed to be placed in is scheduled for March 3rd of next year. That's barely over 6 months from now. So people in Texas won't even know what district they're going to be asked to vote in. And voters won't know who they're going to be asked to vote for. That's the kind of democracy, which is laughable to call it a democracy, that Trump wants. He doesn't care about the rules. He's perfectly happy to rig things when he gets it. So we all have to stand up. As the governor mentioned, we're all here a few months ago celebrating the 250th anniversary of the beginning of the American Revolution. And some of our most famous patriots indeed fled at that time in the interest of democracy. John Hancock, for instance, and others. And they lived to tell the story of what we were trying to do then 250 years ago. Democracy started here. We have to make sure it stays alive throughout our country. That's our true gift to our country. We want to protect it. We have an obligation here in Massachusetts to stand with these folks, to get their story out, and to make it clear to the nation. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, independent. What matters is if you're an American, you should be standing to make sure that Americans in Texas have the right to vote for a member of Congress of their choosing and in a district that makes some sense. And if you're an American who's concerned about Congress, you should understand that these votes he's trying to steal in Texas will come back to hurt us with national legislation that's going to affect the lives of everybody in this country. So it's extremely important that we not simply say, isn't this nice, they've come to Boston. No, they've come here on a mission, and it's our job to make sure that mission is heard and is effective throughout the country to the effect of protecting democracy, which is really what this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to introduce Senator Carol Alvarado to the podium. We welcome you, and we thank you for being here today with your colleagues.
Thank you, Governor, and we appreciate the hospitality you and your colleagues have shown us. Secretary, thank you. Boy, do we know how important secretaries of state are. You're in charge of elections. Your governor has been a true supporter. We appreciate your very strong words and your passion that you have delivered here today, but in our meeting, expressing support for our efforts. We're here on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, who, by the way, was signed by a legend, a Texan, Lyndon Johnson. And you all hear the game Texas Hold'em. Well, we are literally holding the line on democracy, not just for Texas, but for our nation. We are here to to talk about with other legislators from around the country. This is coming to you. You're next. This is not a Texas problem. This is a United States of America problem. Today, President Trump said that he was entitled to 5 more seats in Texas, 5 more Republican seats. And we're here to say nobody is entitled. The people of those districts are entitled to those seats. They were very specific, very precise in going after Texas. The DOJ sent a letter which prompted all of this, targeting 4 districts that are majority minority districts, 3 represented by African Americans and 1 by a Latina. Texas has historically been in the courts when it comes to redistricting, when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to women's reproductive health. So the governor said this earlier in our meeting, we have become so accustomed to rolling up our sleeves and fighting because we know that this is not stopping in Texas. This is coming to a state near you. And we have had so much support from our colleagues around the nation. We have visited with states that they know they have already been threatened by President Trump, that they are next. So being here in Boston, National League of Cities, and conversing with others has been very productive. I also want to acknowledge that we have total of 8 senators that are here with us and 2 House members that are with us. And we have all been in this fight, and we will continue fighting for democracy across our nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator, and many thanks to you and your colleagues for your time today and talking to the American public and people in Massachusetts about what's really going on. We're happy to take any questions on topic.
Governor, as I understand it, you said you pledge your support to these Texas Democrats. As I understand it, they could face fines for not being in the Capitol. I think it's something like $500 a day. But would you donate to any of these lawmakers' campaign accounts or pledge financial support to help them cover those costs?
You know, that's not something that I can do as an elected. I will say this, though. These folks, they make $600 a month as a member of the Texas state legislature. So every day they're being fined $500. It's really just an example of how far Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott is willing to go with the direct direction of Donald Trump.
Other governors have talked about redistricting in retaliation. Is that something you would consider in Massachusetts?
You know, isn't it a sad state of affairs that that's where we're at, okay? And, you know, Donald Trump, Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton have left us no choice. That's the reality. Nobody came looking for this, right? We had a system of free and fair elections. We have maps that are regularly drawn, voted on by legislatures, approved and signed off on by governors. This is the way the system works until this comes in. And so, you know, they've left us no choice. It's not where anyone wants to be. I can tell you that governors I know, maybe with the exception of this person in Texas, evidently, we want our constituents represented. We want the voices heard. Whether you vote for me or not, I want your voice to count. I want your vote to count. Unlike Greg Abbott, who doesn't want your voice to count and doesn't want your vote to count, nor does Donald Trump, nor does Ken Paxton, because they're proposing to completely rewrite a map out of nowhere to take away the votes and the voices of Texans. And the message is, not only does this have an impact on Congress, which impacts all of America, it also is something that you don't want to see spread. You don't want to see spread. But Abbott, Paxton, Trump, they leave states with no choice. I want to make sure that people have access to health care. I don't want to see further cuts to Medicaid or to housing or to veterans or to poor little kids who need to eat, okay? So that is why it becomes an issue for a governor in New York, and a governor in Illinois, and a governor in Massachusetts, governors all around the country.
So, Governor, does that mean you're actually redistricting?
I'm sorry?
You're planning to perhaps move forward on a redistricting plan in Massachusetts?
We just did that. We're going to follow the rules. I don't know if the Secretary of State wishes to comment, but we just went through a customary and orderly process just a few years ago.
We have no Republicans to give. No, I mean, as you may know from history, Massachusetts has a little part of this history too. Gerrymandering was born here.
Yes.
But that was about Federalists, and we have no Federalists left either. So therefore, I think at this point, what I think the point the governor was making is you're putting states and other jurisdictions in this fight to do tactics they don't want to do. You know, I know at the present time that Trump doesn't particularly care for Putin, so he says, but this is a Putin-like tactic. And he doesn't seem to have any problem with that. I think we don't want to do this. I think Governor Hochul said that yesterday, but if that's what it's going to take to save the Congress, because then it becomes the bigger fight. And I think that's the big issue here. This is not a Texas fight. This is not some little fight down there. This is an American fight. And I think what Hochul was saying yesterday, and Pritzker has said previously and others, is that if we, to protect the independence of the Congress that's going to affect all of our states, we may have to engage in those tactics we don't want to. But nobody wants to do that. The answer really is not to let it happen at all. Let's stop it in Texas. Let's prevent this from happening. Let's show them this is not going to work. And that's really what we need to be talking about. And that's why we're speaking about it. We're not talking about just to say, hi, welcome to Boston. We're saying we want to stand with you. We want to get your message out to the country. And for Americans across this country, this is a very important issue. I don't care whether you're a Republican. I don't care if you're an independent. If you really want a free and fair election, you have to worry about this, what's going on in Texas right now, and we have to all stand up and do something about it. This isn't just their fight. They're not here to escape. They're here to get the word out, and they're asking for our help, and we want to give it.
Some of your critics say that there is present-day gerrymandering in Massachusetts. They are Republican critics, and they say, look at the southern part of the state, New Bedford, Fall River. There are Republicans down there. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, first of all, Fall River and New Bedford are now in the same congressional district. So if that was an argument once upon a time, it no longer is. And also, I think if you look at the overall of our 9 seats, they're very geographically balanced. Whatever arguments might have been made in the time of Elbridge Gerry 200 years ago, or even more recently, don't apply today. These districts in the current state, and most states, are pretty evenly balanced. Obviously, there are always partisan considerations when districts are drawn, but this is not a partisan consideration. This is a splintering of communities and neighborhoods, and I think that point, again, is important to make. They're not simply saying, well, let's just change a few towns. They're splintering. We've got some details from our guests about how they're splintering communities of color. They're absolutely shattering them. They're diminishing their ability to be effective in getting representation in Congress. So this is not simply, well, move a couple of lines here and there and we'll pick up 5 seats. No, this is a very deliberate destruction of minority communities with the objective of trying to get more seats. Trump doesn't care, and apparently Abbott doesn't care either. They don't care what they're doing or who they're stepping on to get what they want. And they don't care whether they're stepping on us either, all of us. Again, if you are an American and you care about freedom of elections and you care about voting, you have to be against what's going on here. We don't want to see Democrats doing it. We don't want to see Republicans doing it. But if we all don't stand up and say this tactic is unacceptable, it's beyond the pale, that's what we're going to get. And we don't want that. They don't want this spreading to other states, neither do we in this state of Massachusetts. But we have to call it out now. That's the only way to stop it.
And I just add, just remember to add a little bit to that question too. The Massachusetts maps, in my view, are fair. They were drawn after a robust process and signed into law by Republican Governor Charlie Baker.
Senator, hang on a second. On this accusation that maybe Democratic states gerrymander just like, or gerrymander, thank you for that, gerrymander just like Republican states do. They do it every 10 years. What's so offensive about this is not that there would be political and partisan interest in mind. That's been for all of history. It's that they're doing it in the middle without a decennial census, and they're doing it for the sole purpose of insulating themselves from voter retribution against their failed leadership and bad policies. That's what's wrong with this. Are we going to do this every 2 years? Every time the administration does something that the voters hate, they redraw the maps to insulate themselves from the democratic process. That's dangerous, and that's what's happening.
You wanna
Sorry to
say-
interrupt.
Why don't you
Fear
identify?
fines or
Introduce
expulsion.
yourself.
I'm supposed to
okay?
identify myself.
Fines or expulsion.
I'm Nathan Johnson. I'm state senator from Dallas.
Do you fear the fines, the expulsion, the threats of arrest?
I'm sorry.
Do you fear any of the threats of arrest? fines?
No, and that would be these two.
Do you want to say anything? Yeah, just introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Anna Hernandez, and this is my colleague, Representative Armando Wally. We are both members of the Texas House from Houston, Texas. And to answer your questions, yes, the $500 a day fines are already being assessed. They will not be paid until if and when we return. So that is not what we're concerned about, and we have not fled the state. And I do want to take this moment to say thank you to Governor Healey and Secretary of State. Thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for the support, because that is what we're in search of. As we fled, didn't flee, as we left the state, it was to make sure that our constituents have a voice, because that's what this process is doing. It's silencing our constituents, and we will not stand for it.
What about the threats of arrest or expulsion?
There have been civil arrests, civil warrants that have been filed that they don't have jurisdiction beyond the state. So that's why we have traveled outside of the state of Texas.
Armando Wally, the price to pay is pales into comparison to the rights of everyday people, everyday constituents that we represent proudly.
Are those
Not scared at all. Come and take it.
Are those fines only for House members, or are they for both House and Senate?
House
The
members.
House has separate rules.
Does the Senate face any
You-
financial repercussions?
No.
Not currently.
So you,
Not yet.
the way the fines are in response to the last redistricting or the last quorum break that occurred in 2021. The House changed the rules to force us back and to prevent us to try to leave
punish
again,
us.
to punish those members that are using the parliamentary procedures that are in place that we've used for over 100 years. You can't use your campaign funds. These have to come out of your personal finances.
Governor, do you see that a legislative solution is needed as the legislature has passed a shield bill? Do we need something similar in Massachusetts to prevent something like this from unfolding here?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
I'm curious if you see a legislative solution that's needed. Democrats here have really focused on the shield law in response to what's going on with Republicans. Is there a comparable law that needs to happen in Massachusetts to prevent this type of situation from Texas coming into Massachusetts?
When it comes to elections, they are free and fair here in Massachusetts. We continue to abide by the law and the maps that were drawn and approved years ago by then Governor Baker. And in terms of whatever actions that we need to continue to take, I'm going to be prepared to take them if it's in the best interests of the Massachusetts people. And we've done that several times over the last several weeks in the face of and in the wake of, devastating and draconian actions by Donald Trump and his administration. So with that, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you were. You go. That's good.